guys, it's me one more time with the Supra Sumo leadership video cast. And this time I'm not by myself. I have a friend with me, a mentor, a man of God that I admire, and a great leader. And that's why I made it a point to bring him on and try to catch him on video for us for the Supra Sumo leadership video cast. I have Dave Gibbons with me. Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
Dave Gibbons is a pastor out in Southern California. He pastors New Song Church. He started Xealots, which is an organization focusing on emergent leaders and leaderships, and leaders that are misfits, leaders that are kind of out of the box. And I kind of met Dave through that way, through Xealots, and I kind of went through his program. And I was so blessed by his wisdom, his teaching, and just his passion for Jesus, and a passion to see a young generation of leaders rise up. And Dave, I think the first thing that kind of caught my heart when I met you was your passion for young leaders. I know that you kind of had a journey yourself as you started in leadership really young. What are some, maybe I'm just starting off with the key question here.
Yeah, sure.
What are some advices that you would give to leaders that are young and they're starting off?
Yeah, that's a great question. For me, I think the first thing I tell people is to know that your calling is to build trust and to bear pain. That's the main task of a leader. And building trust means you're showing up on time, even showing up early.
Yeah.
And building trust is like when you're given a job, you not only do it, but man, you crush it. You do a great job. And then building trust is, if you say that you're gonna actually do something, you're gonna actually execute on it. And that's building trust. Awesome. Yeah, bearing pain, I tell leaders, is bearing pain for young leaders is usually not being seen, I think. And it feels like you're not going anywhere at times. You're just doing a lot of behind the scenes work. But it's like I was telling my son today, I go, you don't realize the good leaders are actually always watching you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're watching how you do the small things.
That's true.
And I think the Lord does too. He says, faithful in the few, ruler over many.
Yeah.
So I said, whatever you're given to do today, just do it well, do it excellently, and have an extraordinary spirit.
Yeah.
And you'll rise above most other leaders, and it cultivates, I think, a character formation that's really dependent upon God.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome, man. And I know you started off in leadership really early.
Yeah.
And if you could just quickly tell us, how was that experience, and how did you kind of just, step into leadership at a young age?
Well, I didn't really want it. I think my sister was a great encouragement to me. I'm sure like your sister, Zoe. But she was always saying, Dave, God's going to use you, man. And I go, I don't know about that. But then also, I think I had a youth pastor who saw potential in me. And he just started playing racquetball. It's like a little tennis type of stuff with me, several times a week.
Yeah.
And I just harassed him a lot. I wasn't really living for God at all, but he just keeps spending time with me.
Yeah.
And then there's a time I went to camp and accepted Jesus, and then everything shifted. And then he just started giving me responsibilities, where I started running like youth camps, like when I was in high school, several hundred kids.
Wow.
And then he had me speak to not only kids, but then he says, I want you to speak to the adults.
Wow.
And so he just, helped build my confidence to engage.
Yeah.
And so I think, I had people looking out for me, believing in me, but also taking the risk by giving me opportunities to lead.
Yeah.
So I think that's helped quite a bit.
That's awesome. And now there's one interesting thing about Dave, and the first time I heard Dave talk about this, I was kind of caught off guard.
Yeah.
But he has a theology that he says it's like a Bruce Lee philosophy.
Yeah.
And so I said, Dave, you got to tell us a little bit about that and explain to us, if you could, the Bruce Lee philosophy and how that ties into spirituality.
Well, I think I'm suspicious, and so is this generation, when someone sounds like they have all the answers.
Yeah.
And they come up with like, here's the 5 things to do, and it's the same thing everywhere in the world. And I just know it's not that easy.
Yeah.
And that it's a little bit more complicated. So I'm kind of for a different style of leadership. And really, it can be summarized probably in a parable, the monkey and the fish. It's an Asian parable, but it's hundreds of years old. And it said this monkey was swinging through the jungle, and then he saw this river where there was this fish that was caught like in this vortex. And it looked like it was struggling, so he went to help it out. So he dove into the water, pulled the fish out, and said, "Here, I'm here to save you." Then he swung over to the dry land, and he dropped the fish on the dry land and said, "There you go, you can rest." And then he started swinging away thinking he was like some hero. But of course the fish dies, right? And I said, that's kind of how we do leadership a lot. You know, we'll have our ways of the way we did it in the past, and then we impose it on the next generation or the new culture. Yeah. And I said, really our job is to be like Jesus, where we're adapting to the culture without losing who we are. Yeah. And that to me is grounded on our favorite theologian, Bruce Lee. And, Bruce Lee was asked, what type of martial arts do you use? And he gave the classic 2-word answer. I think it's 3 probably in Portuguese, but it says, it depends. Yeah, it depends, yeah. It's a perfect line because he says, you put water into a cup, it becomes a cup. You put water into a pitcher, it becomes a pitcher. Yeah. Be water, my friend. Yeah, that's right. And I said, that's really cool because I've seen in life how when I come in with a certain preconceived idea, it doesn't go well. But if I'm really open to looking for where the Father's working based on John 5, he's already knocking down things. Yeah. I just got to follow it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. That's really, really cool. And Dave, let's just kind of finish off here with maybe it'd be awesome to hear from your heart, what do you see for the future? And just, I know you've been traveling literally around the world and just dealing, on just meeting new leaders. What do you see for the future of the Christian church around the globe?
Well, I'm very excited. I feel this is one of the most chaotic times in history, where if you go around the world, there's economic shifts, there's political shifts, there's revolution stirring, like may happen in Brazil if they lose to Argentina.
Oh, it will.
We were both in the streets, man. So to me, all of those are actually good signs that people are getting more passionate, something stirring. They're not going to set up a status quo. So to me, the chaos gets me excited. It's an intoxication of that, saying I'm changing, I'm shaking things up, and I'm reestablishing new forms, new ways, but again, based on ancient truths and ancient wisdom from God in the gospel. So what I get excited about, though, specifically is Brazil. And I think it's important to note because I think Brazil's going to have a unique place. Wow. I think they're the perfect Bruce Lee type of person where they're liquid. Wow. You have, they have a mix of cultures. Yeah. Internationally, like my daughter, I think she feels most at home in Brazil. Because sometimes she's with Asians and she doesn't feel quite at home because she's half. And then she's with the white, maybe, a US, and sometimes she's not gonna feel totally at home. But in Brazil, she's got, man, I love this. Yeah, totally. And she's getting kissed on all the time and hugged. She loves that, and I like it too. Yeah. But I think the Brazilian people, they're so ripe because of their cultural mix. Yeah. And then because of their passion. They got a heart, and they get excited about, I think, the things that God will get excited about. They stir. And again, thirdly, they flow. I tell people, just watch the way they play soccer, man. The way they play football, you can tell they know how to adapt, and they're the best in the world. Yeah. So I feel this is the place that many, like Apostle Paul's and Paulines, are going to be sent out.
That's awesome. That's really awesome. Well, it was great talking to you, Dave, and thank you so much for taking time to do this. And I hope you were able to kind of catch a little bit of Dave's passion there and what God's been speaking to him and through him. And thank you so much. And we'll see you on the next Supra Sumo video. I'm T. Hayashi. This is Dave Gibbons, and we're out of here.